everyone. Good morning. Good morning. It is such a beautiful day. It's such a beautiful day. I know we're all preparing for the holidays if you do celebrate it. I try to dub my Thanksgiving as a gratitude, a grateful day instead of using the word Thanksgiving, because I think it's a day to be grateful and a day to have gratitude for everything that we would have accomplished and achieved and being able and surrounding ourselves with our families and friends. So that is my word, which is grateful gratitude day. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you are watching live, I appreciate you being here. If you're watching the replay, then of course, thank you very much. Let me know that you're here live. Let me know that you're watching the replay. Leave a comment, be grateful. Uh, Maybe share something that you're grateful for in the comments as we have this very, very important conversation today. This is Women Making an Impact Live. If this is the first time that you're joining and this first time that you're tuning into one of my conversations where I'm bringing together women of different backgrounds, different experiences to share their expertise and their resources with you so that you can have the tools, strategies that you need to build your confidence, amplify your voice, know your worth, and of course, just like the leader that you're becoming. So as I said, if you're here live, let me know. If you're watching if you're watching the replay, of course, leave a comment so I know that you're watching. I'm Salida Roberts, founder and image coach here at Style to Impact. And I thought it was a fitting conversation to have right now because, as I said, I'm dubbing this holiday that's coming up Gratitude Day, being grateful for everything that we have. And I think one of the things that we do, we're grateful for everyone else in our lives. We show appreciation for everyone else in our lives, but we tend to neglect ourselves a lot, right? We pour into everyone else and we, put together when we look at practicing self-care, it's like, oh yeah, it's something that I'll do on the side or anything like that, right? So I want to know from you, when you think of self-care, when you hear the term self-care, what comes to mind for you, right? And do you see self-care as a reward of where, it's a reward of time and resources, like, oh, that special thing you'll do on that special day for yourself? Because one of the things that I've discovered, and I had to be intentional about how I practice self-care, is because like over the last 12 months, I've shared my personal experience, right? Where over the last 12 months, I've gone through what I call the worst period of my life. Like mentally, my mental health took such a hit. My confidence, my self-worth took such a hit. And it wasn't until I asked myself this very important question, like, how can I take care of myself? How can I take care of myself? Because here's it, I was struggling mentally. I was struggling and I wanted to do everything else for everyone. I wanted to make sure that, I'm pouring into my business. I want to make sure that I'm being a good sister, I'm being a good daughter, and I'm trying to be everything for everyone else. And it's like, no, how can I be the best person for myself? What can I do to take care of myself? So joining me today is my guest. I'm going to bring my guest on screen today. Hello. Joining me today is my guest, Franzie. Am I saying it right?
Yes,
Jean-Louis.
Francie. That's right.
Franzie Jean-Louis. Thank you very much. You're a mental health and self-care coach. And I think as we're winding down this year, we're all looking for tools. At least I'm still looking for tools that I can manage, how I deal with stress, how I deal
Yeah.
with setbacks, and how I deal with, just going forward in those difficult moments in life, because that's what happens in life, right? We experience
Yeah.
these difficult moments. So thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm very pleased to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I want to get into the full of the conversation because we were introduced by a mutual friend here on LinkedIn, Mildred.
Yes.
And one of the things when I told her, I was looking for women who are really taking up space in helping other women develop strategies so that they can become better individuals. And I was like, we're talking, and she's like, oh no, Francie is someone that you should connect with. And when I saw your profile, I immediately like, yes, because I love your mission of you're helping women. And yes, you it says high achieving, but I want to say women on a whole,
Yes.
because like women, how to build better relationships with themselves. Can
Yes.
we talk about that for a moment? Is it
Most
something
definitely.
that you decided to go into this coaching space because it's something you were struggling for, like you were struggling with? Like, what made you want to do this?
Yes. Well, why did I get into coaching would start with why did I get into coaching? Because I didn't do what I really wanted to do. So I wanted to be an opera singer and not singer, star. So to
Wow.
be very clear, I was really high achieving. That's all I had ever wanted. And this idea of not having a good relationship with myself, not knowing how to deal with my stress just made it very difficult to actually pursue the career, aside from the fact that I had some physical issues. And but life is a wonderful thing. While I was studying and working as a amateur, not quite professional opera singer, I was also teaching. And it would turn out that I ended up teaching high level executives to
Oh, wow.
make presentations in English, negotiate in English. And these people were terrified. I was like, "Oh, I know that look. I've seen that before." And it was in helping them establish their confidence, you see, that I started to work on my own for singing. But my confidence as a teacher, I was pretty much a natural, but to see that other people were struggling with the same thing that I was struggling with for opera, I was like, "Hold on. I can help. I know what to do. I got this."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's incredible. And this is why we always say coaches get coaches. Like,
yes.
we all
Yes.
need a support system, because while we can teach others, sometimes we don't, like, we're not able to help ourselves, and that's okay, because we tend to think, oh, if I can help someone do this, overcome their their lack of self-confidence, or overcome self-worth, or work on their mindset, or their self-esteem, that I can teach you that. And
Yes.
we're
Yes.
like, am I practicing what I preach? Am I practicing what I
Right.
teach? And that's the
Right.
most difficult thing for most of us, right? Being able
Right.
to recognize that we may need help ourselves, right? Even though it may be your area of expertise, that we need help ourselves. And to come to that realization, to say, wait a minute, I am teaching others how to excel in this space, but it's the same component that's affecting me in my
Yes.
space, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think that's incredible that you had that shift to be able
Yeah.
to do that. No, that's not something that I want to say the normal woman will be able to say, wait a
Well,
minute. I
yeah.
how did you make that shift?
From going from struggling as
Realize,
an opera singer and then helping others.
realizing that you needed to build your confidence to pursue the goal that you wanted.
Yeah. Well, you can't. Excuse me. One of the difficulties with opera singing is that you have to be perfect. You can't be kinda, you know? So when you are seeking perfection and you can't attain it, you're like, "What's wrong? Why isn't this working? There's got to be a way." So I did work with teachers, but bizarrely, that's not what helped me build the confidence. I quit opera, and the
Wow.
confidence came from teaching others what I didn't know how to do. It was really bizarre. And then on the side, I started singing again. And as I was researching how to help people, present better in French and in English. I was doing all this research. I was like, hold on, wait, let me use this on me. And while I, it's kind of weird. And
Yeah.
I had a band. I had a rock band. I went from opera to a hard rock band
Oh,
for
wow.
3 years. Yeah, that was a great journey. And it was with those guys that I learned just do it. I had the bassist. I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. He's like, just sing. I thought, just sing. Wow, okay. So I just did it, and what I learned was that being in that space, you know how the athletes say being in the zone?
Yeah.
That was the major shift. To be in the performance and not observing yourself at a distance and judging yourself.
Yeah.
And that is the first thing to let go of, is that judgment. Yeah.
I love that. I think that self-judgment is what holds us
Oh,
back, right? Because we're always thinking the other person, what we assume the other person is thinking about us,
right,
right? And
right.
never like asking, like, if you want to know what someone is thinking about you and you care, matter of fact, if you care about that person's opinion, it's
Mm.
better that you ask than assuming, right? So that's incredible. And just like, what is perfection? Perfection is,
Ugh,
I
it's a
always say,
beast.
where dreams, it's where dreams go to die, because we're trying to be perfect. We're trying to do is like this word. If I'm not perfect at this, then I'm not able to succeed. And if I'm not able to succeed, then my self-worth, then my self-confidence and everything comes into question, right? So
Yes.
it's a minefield whenever I think of it. It's like, no, I may not get it right, but I'm gonna keep trying. Like every time I do these lives, I mess up the first intro. Like I always mess up the intro. It's just one of those things that starting that conversation off the bat is a struggle for me, but I stopped being in my head where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna mess it up, or or I messed it up, so I just kind of like move on and roll with it,
Yeah,
right? It
right,
helps me
right,
to just continue the conversation. But
right.
before we continue, I want to say thank you very much for Flo and Gilda for joining. I appreciate you ladies being here. And of course, we're talking about practicing self-care so that you can overcome, the setbacks in your life and really finding your purpose. And I think that's what you did. You found your purpose when you stepped out and say, okay, here is it. I'm better at teaching
Right.
than the actual doing. It's okay that I'm not able to get to that level that I want to get to, but I'm going to teach others because I find more joy, I feel more fulfilled, and I'm helping someone do something that it's not that I failed. It's a case of it's not my calling, maybe, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
your calling, it wasn't your purpose. So I
Well,
think
I
that's
think I don't want to cut you because I'm an old lady. I'm gonna forget, but
no,
um, it's the word to help someone else. Okay,
yeah,
because when I was singing on stage, I was just like, I've got to be perfect. It's got to be good. I hope
yeah,
they're gonna like me. You
yeah,
see? So it's all ego based. But when I was helping someone and I forgot about the me ego part, and I was like, you got this. Okay, we're gonna do this. You're gonna stand, you're gonna do that, you're gonna and that being in service, that helping that person feel better, be better, do better, that that just makes the difference. And I also wanted to add that not comparing myself to other teachers. I was not comparing myself
yeah,
to other teachers as I was comparing myself to opera greats. You
yeah,
see, and that's linked to that whole idea of judgment. So when I was seeking perfection, I was not exaggerating. I was comparing myself to Maria Callas, to Leontine Price.
wow.
I'm not silly. I know the difference between it's okay and the bomb. You know, I'm not being delusional. I know. But then when I was teaching, since I didn't know any other teachers, I was just being myself,
Yeah.
right? I was the bomb because the
You,
people were
you,
just they were just improving and feeling good, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm good at this." Yeah, that was
I mean, that must have been a phenomenal feeling. No,
it was
I want
awesome.
to talk about, because this is all in line with our conversation for today, right? Just
Right.
being able to come from service and also embracing who you are. When you think of self-care, because every time, it's one of those where it's a $1 billion industry, I think the self-care industry is. I may have it wrong. If that's not the case, feel free to correct me in the comments. I'm okay with that. But when we think of self care, it always comes across as this luxury thing. Like, oh, I'm practicing self care today. So it's a luxury. It's where it's my birthday and I'm going to go to the spa, or it's my anniversary and I'm going to go to dinner. It's like a luxury mindset that we have. And as I said earlier, when I was struggling mentally, when I was struggling, with my emotions, struggling with my self-confidence and self-worth and everything like that, I had to take that moment to say, wait a minute, how am I going to take care of myself? Like I need to take care of myself. No one else around me is going to do that. And so I had to be a little bit more intentional about my self care practice. But for those persons that's joining us now, how would you define self care? And I know self care for everyone is different, but we're trying to get to that definition where we're saying it's not a luxury, it's a
No.
necessity.
It is thank you. Self-care is a necessity. If you do not take care of yourself, who is going to do it? Yeah, your mom did it for you. If you're lucky, maybe you got this awesome husband or boyfriend or wife or whatever. But deep down inside, you are responsible for your health. It is not a luxury, it is a necessity. When you wake up in the morning, who brushes your teeth? It's
Yeah.
just like that's one of the first things you do. When you go to you know where, who wipes your you know what? You do it unless, of the horrible cases where it cannot be done. But the point is, it is your responsibility. It's not a luxury. It's not a spa day. No, it's I am taking care of myself so that I have a better relationship with myself. And if I am good in myself, I will have a better relationship with you. So it is not when I wake up in the morning, my family knows. Oop, mom is meditating. Let me not, let me not bother her. Because
Yeah.
when mommy meditates, when mommy is focused, mommy is better. When I go to school, when I go to teach, I make sure that I'm focused. And of course, I was saying during the glow up challenge that I'm not sleeping too well these days because it's in the perimenopausal phase, okay? But I compensate with other self-care things, exercise, eating right? Meditating. It is not a luxury. It has to be done for me to succeed at what I'm doing. And when I say succeed, I'm not saying always like $1,000,000. Succeed is being able to interact with yourself and with others with kindness and compassion. It's
Yeah.
not a luxury, it is a necessity.
Absolute necessity. And it's not selfish to practice self care.
Not at
It's not
all.
selfish to say, I understand that persons within my home, in my household, will need my attention right now, but saying to your family, I need a moment to just breathe. I need a moment not to answer any questions. I need a moment to just sit with myself. I think it's something that we have to be okay with and
Yes.
train persons around us that this is how I am able to give to you. If I'm not able to take care of
Right.
myself, I'm not able to
I
give to
can't.
you.
Exactly.
I like I'm a TED Talk, TEDx like junkie. Like
Okay.
that's my morning ritual. That's how I get ready in the morning. Like I go on the website and I'll just pull up any and like random is not specific, just kind of like hear someone else's perspective, how they deal with things, whether or not it's mindset, self-care, whatever the conversation is that I
Right.
happen to pull up that day. And in preparation for this conversation, I've specifically started to look at conversations around self-care, like how different, so to speak, the thought leaders are looking at self-care. And there was, I cannot remember her name right now, that she was talking about the 6 pillars of self-care that she had to implement after ignoring her body, after trying to negotiate with her doctor that, okay, it's not as bad right now, physically I don't feel, I'm still able to walk, and the doctor's saying, but you need to take a moment to decompress. You need to take a
Right.
moment for yourself. And a few of those pillars, I'm not going to go through all of them that she talked about. And I think this is important for the conversation, because when you think of self-care, it's being able to put them in categories, right? And I think this will be helpful to listeners to know that, okay, which category am I struggling in?
Right.
And the
Right.
categories that she talked about was physical. moving
Yes.
around, dancing, psychological, just journaling and dealing with her emotions, and putting things out there. There's a spiritual, there's the relationship, and there's a professional. Like, what are some of those? I'm not sure if you have ever heard of these. First of all, let me ask you that. Have you
Yes, I
heard of
have,
it?
but I don't know the name of the person you're speaking of. But yes,
Yeah.
these are very important factors. Self-care people, those who have the idea of it being a luxury, have spa day. So they're
Yeah.
thinking it's a massage or getting your nails done. That could be part of it, but why would you get a massage? Why would you get your nails done? Because you need something either physically, spiritually, emotionally. These are all these factors. For the past 7 weeks, I launched a glow up challenge. And the glow up challenge was to help people review the facets of their life that they've been neglecting. So I
Yeah.
taught I put it into the idea of getting into the driver's seat of your well-being. So seat meaning, do I sleep well? The first S,
Yeah.
right? The SEAT. Am I eating well? Am I active? And are my thoughts well? And in thoughts, then I break it down further, okay? And I look at how am I feeling in my mind, my body, and my spirit. You see? So that's how I break it down. So remember, are you in the driver's seat of your well-being? That self-care, that idea of, am I
Yeah.
how well am I sleeping? How well am I eating? How well am I moving my body? When was the last time I actually went for a walk or for a run or whatever it is you do? And then my thoughts. Now the thoughts, this is where it's at.
That's
Okay.
that's the big
This
one.
is
Yeah,
that's the
that's
big
the
one. Yeah,
one.
that's why the thoughts one, I had to break it down into several weeks. And this week, I was calculating. I was like, "Oh my God, it's Thanksgiving or grateful gratitude day," right?
Yeah.
It falls into that. It falls into the self-confidence that I broke it down because our thoughts, and I think last week was about no negativity, keep negativity away, right?
Isn't
Because
it like
that,
amazing how we just focus on all the negatives and not
yeah,
like so many positives will happen in our lives, and we're like like trying to
whatever.
search our brain for the positives, but the negatives just come like, yeah,
Yes, it's
that
too
is,
easy. It's too easy because we live in, well, I'll speak for myself as an American, and also in France. We live in societies where we're very critical,
yeah.
or we don't appreciate enough what we have. When I went to Haiti, my parents are from Haiti, and I went to Haiti in 2010 after the earthquake. I was doing some humanitarian work. I'd never seen a bunch of people who look so happy in their lives and they're in misery. So people say, "Ah, but poor people, they're always smiling." Why? Because they know that they've got to appreciate the smaller things of
Yeah.
life. But when you have everything, you're like, "Oh my God, we don't have Wi-Fi." I'm doing my daughter. Okay. We're at like this great vacation spot. And she's like, "Oh my God, I know Wi-Fi." I'm like, "Girl, there's a pool, there's this, that. Um, that that is that breaks our joy. If we have a practice of gratitude, like you just like, thank you for this, and and thank you for all that I have. Look at all this is abundance. I am lucky to have that. I'm appreciative to have that. All of a sudden, you're like a millionaire.
Yeah.
Mm?
Yeah, because your
And that
thought
that is your
change.
thought pattern is different. Yeah.
Yeah. And once your thought pattern changes, like everything else, it's not gonna magically like change your entire life, but everything else, like things start to shift. I can talk
Yes.
from my own experience. When I start thinking of how can I take care of myself? What can I do? Why am I leaving my self-worth, my self-confidence and everything else to someone else? Right? Why am I leaving that to someone else? How can I take control of my life and start thinking of what are some of the tools do I need to put together? How do I feed my mind? Right? Like
Mhm.
reading was one of those things that I did a lot
Yes.
when I was
Yes.
younger, but as I got older, I used the excuse that, I wear glasses a lot now and it's like difficult to I was like,
Yeah.
I'm saving my
My
eyes.
my view, my
I'm
eyesight.
saving my eyes. But I got back because I'm that person. I like a physical book. I have not
Yes.
gotten into the audio because I'm like, I need the physical book in my hand. I need to
No,
have it.
no,
I need to like,
no. Mm-mm.
so, feeding my mind and making that adjustment and looking at when I feed my mind, that practicing that level of self-care and reading ideas came from those books. Like, not
Mm.
only how do I see myself, but what are some of the messages and what are some of the things that I want to talk about. When I talked about women empowerment through style, that's because of the energy that I got from reading books, the energy that
Mm.
I got from listening to other women speak of things that they're going through. And it's like, okay, we have to know, and I get the pushback as well. It's like, oh, getting dressed, it's just it, it's a necessity. We look at it as a necessary thing that we have to do. But going to your mission of building a better and healthier relationship with ourselves comes down to every aspect of who we are, how we
Yes.
build that relationship mentally, how we build that relationship with physically embracing who we are in the bodies that we have, and dressing and showing up in a way that truly is an expression of us, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
that is that for me, it's like, yeah, it's not selfish, it's not a part-time thing, it's an
No,
everyday thing.
it's an
It's a
everyday thing. And you talked about reading. Now, I love paper books. I want to write it in. I want to highlight it. Yeah, I'm one
yeah.
of those people. However, I love information so much. I do consider myself a bit of an information junkie. That's I have Audible, and I must have at least 300 books on my Audible
Wow.
that I listen to when I'm walking outside, right? Mm, or driving, because I want to have for me it's about like submerging myself in the information that's going to help me
Yeah.
grow and help my clients grow. And
Yeah.
there's always new information coming all the time. When I was researching my book, it took me it took me about 4 months to get through all the documentation that I wanted to get through. And then when I was done, I was like, "Oh man, this new book came out. I could have sourced that too, you know." So it's endless, but it's so essential. And to me, that's part of my self-care. When somebody sees me reading, somebody in my house, and like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Hello, I'm researching, I'm working," you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's it's something that you have to protect for yourself. Now, I get it. I am a workaholic, and that is a whole different reason and different issue. But I don't feel guilty about it. Yes, it sounds really bad, because I know that the work that I do fuels me, and then when I'm with my family, I'm like, "Oh, I saw something. I heard this. I did that." I can connect to my children differently. You
Yeah.
see? I took a 20 was it I think it was a 21-day communication course on
Wow.
how to talk to my children better. My parents didn't do that. Okay.
Yeah, and
And I'm sorry, it feels like a luxury, but it's not, because I was struggling with a teenager
yeah.
and I didn't know how to talk to the teenager. So what did I do? I went and I found myself a coach. Yes, was this coach in a book? Yeah, the coach was in a book, and then I hired the real coach. But the point is, why do you do all of this? To build better relationships with yourself and other people. We live in a world. We need to be able to interact with people at our utmost. And so we need that. Yeah.
I love that. It's seeking the help and the resources that you need to be a better person. We always
Yeah.
going back to, where we're thinking success is about how we impact and influence other people, what we do for other people, how do they see us? It's like, no, how do you see yourself? And what are some
Yeah.
of the things that you're doing for yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
intentional. You
Yeah.
cannot This is why at first I remember growing up when I heard, oh, you have to put your mask on first before you help someone else. I was like,
Yes.
what? So
Yeah,
I was
totally.
I looked at him like, what do you mean put my mask on first? Like, I didn't get it until until really started to think about it. It's like, yeah, if you're going to help others, if you're going to be a resource for other people, you have to take care of yourself first. Like,
Yes.
while you're putting that person's mask on, you're taking in whatever, you're not getting enough
You're gonna
oxygen.
pass out.
Exactly. And it's like you pass out before you can help the person. And at
Yes,
the end of
yeah.
the day, we're both, in that state. So I want
Right,
to talk
right.
a little bit before we wrap up on
Yes.
like what are some action when we think about self-care action plan, because this is something that I'm thinking about as well for myself. Like I want to be more intentional, especially now that I'm hearing like self-care you can put it in, because for me self-care used to be this one thing, this thing, and I will do different things within to practice self-care. And now that I'm looking at, oh, there are categories of self-care, so I can say,
Yes.
okay, to work on my professional self-care, you know, aspect component of my life, what are some of the things do I need to do, what are some of the boundaries? If I'm looking at my emotional self-care aspect, like how am I helping and being compassionate to others? So now I'm breaking it up like that because of this conversation that we're having. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit more intentional and making sure that I'm hitting every aspect of my life
Right.
and not neglecting anywhere. Because we may say, oh, I'm practicing self-care because I'm journaling, but we're not moving around, right? There's that physical part of
Exactly.
it that we
Right.
neglect.
Right.
So I want
Exactly.
to talk a little bit about like creating that self-care plan of action. Do you, from your perspective, is it something that when you create a plan, your self-care plan, is it like a daily, weekly, monthly basis? And what are some of the tools should we put into that self-care action plan?
Okay. So for me and for the clients that I work with, I ask them to do what I call the 3M. The 3M is the first thing you do in the morning is you meditate. And meditate, I'm not saying that it has to be It just means that you are going into yourself. Yes, you've just slept, but consciously, mindfully going in and breathing and checking in with yourself. How am I doing? What do I have to do today? Are we good? Okay. And then movement, that's the other M. That's very important. And it doesn't have to be going for a run. It can be going for a walk. It could be just stretching. It's just connecting with your body. Excuse me. You've connected with your mind and now you're connecting with your body. And then there's what I call memo, which is journaling. And here for me you're connecting to your spirit. So for people who believe in God, this is a moment where you're just connecting your
Mhm.
gratitude, you're just letting it flow through you. And for those who don't necessarily believe in God, but they do believe that there is a force, a higher force, or a wise mind, you're having a flowy conversation with the wise mind. Now this is every day. And then the other plan, as I mentioned, is the driver's seat. Okay, where you do
Yeah,
just a little checklist. It's easy. Am I
yeah,
sleeping? Am I eating? Am I active? Where are my thoughts? It covers all of it because it can go for your work, it can go for your relationship, it can go for your love. You just say it,
yeah,
because when you're not sleeping and you're grumpy,
yeah,
that affects people at work. That affects your husband, your wife, right?
yeah.
You haven't eaten. You are hangry. That affects everybody, right? And your thoughts, they affect everything, every aspect of your life. So to
I
me, that's
Go
the
ahead.
seat. Yeah, I'm just saying it's the seat.
Yep. Be mindful. Make sure you have your memo. Make sure you're moving, and of course,
Yes.
take control of your seat. Be in that driver's seat. I
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely love that. Now,
Yeah.
as we wrap up, how can viewers get in contact with you if they're like, "Yeah, I need to take control of my life right now. I need, I need some of this self care practices in my toolkit." How can they get in
Yes.
contact with you?
Okay, they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there. Follow my page, and you can send me a direct message so we can work on this together. And I will also be having a web chats with people so we can go further into it. But please contact me on LinkedIn. Soon there will be a website, but for now, just come on to LinkedIn, and I am there. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'll be sure to drop your LinkedIn uh, link in the comments as well, so persons
Yes.
able to go on that and click in and get in contact with you, because I think it's such an important aspect that we're being so mindful now, and I think as human beings, we're moving and progressing in such a great space where we're being intentional about every single thing. And I think we have to, if we practice being better human beings, if we practice being able to practice loving ourselves more, I think
Yes,
at the
yes.
end of the day, some of the things that we struggles that we're going through, some of the, inequalities and stuff like that, we'll be able to handle it better, and we'll be able to make those changes that we are seeking. Now, what's one piece of advice that you want to leave with viewers? Like, what's one thing, if they take anything away from this conversation, what is that one thing you want to leave with them?
Although people are improving themselves, what they have to know is that they are good enough.
Yeah.
You're good
I,
enough.
I,
What you're
I
doing is for you, but you are good enough.
I love that. And on that note, my question to everyone that's listening, if you're watching live or you're watching the replay, thank you very much again for joining us. Today's conversation was talking about practicing mindset, practicing self care to overcome your setbacks and really finding your purpose. As we heard, my guest today moved from, being an opera singer to joining a band to teaching. So it's like when you are one with yourself and when you feel in tune with yourself, when you're building that better relationship with yourself, you're able to expand and really give to society parts of you that are most valuable, and that they can learn and grow from you. So I want to thank everyone for joining. And my question to you, like, what would you do? What's something different? What's possible if you show up for yourself? What is possible
Yeah.
if you decide for yourself that you're going to let go of limiting beliefs, and you're going to let go of everything else that's making noise around you, and really embrace who you are and show up for yourself? Like, what is possible? Let us know in the comments. And of course, I will go in and answer those questions and have that conversation going, because we need to start tapping into building better relationships with ourselves. So thank you very much for joining us today. Until next time, have a great day. Enjoy your grateful day. Practice gratitude. And again, just be in tune with who you are. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great one. Bye.